Whatever might go down, we're gonna survive that. Food, clothes, and shelter, we're gonna find that. When you hear this sound, you know that I'm back. Hey, it's where I put your mind. When that disaster hit, don't you get trapped in it. You must always stay prepared with your disaster kit. In the club you might be drunken so you may laugh at it, but when you sober up you know it. Here's what you have to get. Stay prepared, never be fearful or even scared. These natural disasters cannot be compared. So rise and realize you will survive. In the meantime, prepare yourself with these supplies. Get coils of rope and coils of wire. In a waterproof container, put all your fire. Like matches and candles, and don't wear sandals. Get some hard boots and work gloves to handle the situation. Cause when disaster hits the nation, you and your family gonna need your medication. Antibiotics, aspirin, the chronic, even health foods like vitamins and garlic, pain relievers, inhalers and breathers. And make sure you got something that can take down a fever. A spray bottle of water with 10% bleach, so you can disinfect the objects you reach. And speaking of bleach, here's what I teach. Don't think that you can drink the water from the beach. You're gonna have to drink that water from your hood and purify your water to make sure it's all good. Put things in order. Put 8 drops of pure unscented liquid bleach into the water. Use only 8 drops for every 1 gallon you working. You'll need about 5 gallons a person. With no water, things could get lethal. It's dehydration, not starvation, that kills people. So look for the water first. Don't be robbing and looting and stealing and killing. That'll only make things worse. Be smart, plan ahead, save some cash, a radio, some gas, and some blow-up beds. Keep your disaster kit high on the shelf with your weapons. You might have to defend yourself. Get a flashlight, chemical light sticks and hold that, a compass, some dry food, maybe a road map. Don't forget things like peroxide and Listerine, bandages and antihistamines like Benadryl. So when things get ill, you will survive cause you really got skill. You opened your eyes after you got in your list of supplies. Check your attitude, know that you gonna survive. Whatever might go down, we're gonna survive that. Food, clothes, and shelter, we're gonna find that. When you hear this sound, you know that I'm back. Hey, it's where I put your mind at.
Hey folks, thanks for stopping by Kaiser's Cast today. I have 2 people that you have already known and met and enjoy. And we're going to break down some of this panic in the streets of London. A little bit of Morrissey for you there, Baz. I have my brother Baz and my sister Kate. And we're going to break down the silliness of panic and how the last show we had, we were actually talking about panic is the thing that's going to hurt more people than anything. And Baz, why don't you jump in first, and Kate, jump in right after, sister.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, Shuffy. It's good to have Kate back on as well. Yeah, obviously with this COVID-19, this coronavirus sort of outbreak that we're seeing across the globe, there's a lot of instances where there's sort of panic is taking hold, and there's people sort of crisis buying certain supplies, and people wearing like gas masks on the subway and things like that. And it's basically what we're going to do. We're going to just try and put it in perspective in a certain way. I just break down what the panic, where it's driven from, and things like that. And I know Kate has personally gone through some things recently where it's like the textbook story of how panic has taken over, and obviously she can touch on that. So yeah, we're going to break down that, and hopefully it'll be a good show. Kate?
Worldwide panic is not worldwide as everyone thinks it is. I think it's local, and local will determine the outcome of what people think just by the mainstream media or the media within certain cities. Touching on this subject today, I'm hoping that we can at least get through to several people to where they can understand that panic is not what they need to be doing.
I agree wholeheartedly. The thing about it is, we touched on it on our last show. It's not the virus that will be silly. It's going to be the silliness of the panic. And, when people buy things, they don't understand. Look, we used to have, when I was a kid, Kate, and you probably remember this too. I don't know about how it was in England, Baz. But you'd go to the grocery, and the grocery stores like Big Bear, Kroger, they always had a big warehouse area in the back. Not these small ones. They've condensed the stores to give you more product. And they go by Kampai, which is you order it when you need it. It's all computerized now. But there's a lag in that. And it also looks to see what areas are losing what, and it will shift resources to that. So, look, just like in the song, it says, put 8 drops of bleach in the daggone 5-gallon container of water, and you've purified it. But people are going out and clearing shelves of bleach. That's ridiculous. Toilet paper. If you buy one, normally one 24-pack of bottled water, if you pick up another one, that's not a big issue. But people are going in and luckily my neighborhood in my area has not lost its ever-loving fucking mind. But some places I've heard people taking out a couple bass carts full of water. The stores can accommodate that if it's like a function. Let's say somebody's having a big meetup and they're bringing in, they go and get a couple bass carts of water, one group of people, or even a couple having a meeting for a couple days. They're going to get that back in the next day or within 3 days. But when everybody's doing it, it screws up the whole instant kind of replenishment system that we've adopted from the Japanese. And that's kind of the system we're on now, on-time delivery. And you go ahead, Baz, and talk on that, and then Kate, jump in too.
I think the first thing that we need to sort of express and get the point across is we need to put it into proportionality, the numbers of this thing. Obviously, this COVID-19, this coronavirus, it's the biggest, newest, shiny, most deadliest sort of disease out there. And I think once you step back and you actually look at the numbers, and I'm not going to give exact numbers, I'm going to give approximations, but these approximations are pretty accurate, where there's been round about approximately 90,000 cases outside of China. And out of those 90,000 cases, there's less than 4,000 deaths. Now that's global. Okay, that's global. Let's put it into national terms. Let's put it into the terms like I did yesterday on the post of the United States, where you've got approximately 340 million people as a populace. 90,000 people out of 340 million is a grain of sand. Now you take that and then reduce that to the less than 4,000 people out of 340 million. You have more people dying of that a day in the United States of obesity, of cancer, and things like that. So if you put it in that, it doesn't seem such a bad thing. Now put that across the 8 billion people across the globe, taking China out of the equation, of course, and it becomes a very, very, very insignificant number. I mean, of the 90,000 cases, 50,000 of those were pretty non-serious, and people just cleared up. The rest of the cases required a short hospital stay, and then obviously the older the patient, the more the severity of the virus goes up. But again, of around about 4,000 deaths, I think we've just had our first death in the UK. Again, we're not as big as the United States. We've got around about between 40 and 50 million people as a populace, but one person out of that. That's 1 in 50 million chance of contracting coronavirus and dying of it. You have more chance of being struck by lightning 3 times in a single day. You know what I mean? Or getting on an aircraft and it crashing, crossing the road. So I think when people look at the numbers and see that the actual mortality rate of this thing, it's like 0.2%. If you're under the age of 60, over 60 it starts going up, and then when you sort of hit 75 plus, that's when it's in sort of like it gets into the lower to mid-teens, as in between 14 and 17% mortality rate. Obviously, if you've got health issues like cystic fibrosis or asthma and things like that, it's going to be a lot more dangerous because it's a respiratory disease. But again, look at the numbers before you rush out and buy 2 crates of water or 4 crates of water or empty the shelves of bleach. Just look at what you're doing, and think, what are the chances of you actually getting coronavirus and your water stopped running and your internet stopped running and all the power going off? It's the flu. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing.
Overnight, the world isn't going to stop rotating.
Yeah. Here's the thing. In America, more people die every day from falling than have died from this. And the one thing that's funny is in Washington State, where they're in a big ass panic, right? There was one healthcare worker that worked at an old people's home, and he was told he went to Italy. He was told he had COVID-19, and they said you need to segregate yourself. You need to isolate yourself. And what did the idiot do? He went out in public and just infected a bunch of people. And, of course, probably first day on the job, he went back and said, well, maybe I shouldn't be here. But he infected a bunch of old people in an old people's home. So, the numbers are skewed in that way. And definitely want to hear from Kate on her thoughts on this.
Well, Baz touched on what I was going to touch on. So he stole my idea. Great minds think alike. No, you're okay. But he is correct in the numbers of close to 90,000 people are sick with this, and you guys are right. It's just the flu, and 85% of the people, 85,000 of the people are in China, and that means that if you haven't visited China recently, then there's a 95% chance that you will not get it. If you do contract the virus, it's not a cause for panic because 85% of the cases are mild, just like the flu. 15% of the cases are moderate, just like the flu. 5% of the cases are critical. And that's usually because of the elderly and, like Baz was saying, pulmonary issues where the lungs are concerned. It's usually children 10 and under and elderly 50 and above, which hits me and Kaiser, which that's not good. Anyway, it means that if you do get the virus, you are most likely to recover from it. Some people are going absolutely berserk on the news or in public and saying this is worse than SARS. Well, look at the fatality rate of SARS of 10%, while COVID-19's fatality rate is less than 2%. The stats are out there. All they have to do is just look at the stats. If you look at people under the age of 50, the stats are deaths 0.2%. And that's worldwide. That's not just one country specific. That means that if you're 50 years of age or older and you don't live in China, you're more likely to win the lottery than you are to contract and or die of COVID-19.
Or if you're
a
young single man or woman, you're likely to meet your soulmate that you'll live with for 26 years or more.
Exactly. Let's take the worst days so far. Let's say February 10th, 108 people died in China of COVID-19. On that same day, as Baz was saying, how many people died of cancer? Well, on that same day, over 26,000 people died of cancer. Over 24,000 people died of heart disease, and over 4,300 people died of diabetes. Suicide took 28 times more lives than the virus did. So where is the outcry and the panic over these diseases and suicide? Why aren't we killing mosquitoes who kills over 2,700 people every day?
I think it comes down to the media, doesn't it? It's all about the clickbait, the likes, and you know what I mean. That sensationalism.
I agree.
Exactly.
Hello?
Exactly. Yeah, we're all still here. Exactly. Kate, go on and say. I didn't mean to step on you there.
No, we're good. We're good.
Cool.
Baz covered most of it. When he was talking, I just wanted to reiterate on how many people die of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and suicide just in that one day.
Right.
When 108 people in China died, and then let's compare it to other diseases. This is the flu. People die of the flu.
Yes, and the media wants to hype it, and I'm about to push a drop in here, like somebody's going out there and just mowing people down with a. Remember that the point about that is they want to act like they're getting mowed down with a machine gun. And what was the last Democratic talking point that the Democrat? I'm gonna only use Democrat because he's the only moron who said it. The inevitable moron Joe Biden said. Guns have killed 150 million people in a nation of 330 million. I think he's a little retarded there, and it's the same kind of thing. And the media did not correct him, so that lies out there, and the media propagates a lot of this. And I'm not going to say we'll get off the politics now. The only point I was trying to make was there's retardation that's going on, and it's willful, and we have to think this is an election year. There might be a fucking reason this is happening. Go ahead, guys. You guys can talk about that, maybe.
I think just to top off on what we've been touching on the actual disease sort of side of it, the infection rate of this is between 1.2 and 3.8. And basically that's a reproductive number. That means if one person's got COVID-19, they're going to infect between 2 or 3 people. Where you look at measles and it's got an infection rate of 18%, it's the most infectious disease on the planet, you know, and it's still out there, and the world hasn't perished to measles because all we've done is we've produced vaccinations, and that's what we're doing with this. Let's say we'll probably come on to it, but Israel are the closest nation to coming up with a vaccine. And that's all that happens. The same with the flu virus. They're just going to inoculate those that are susceptible to it, and then everybody else in between. So, you know, it's not the be all and end all. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's not the most infectious thing on the planet. Measles is, and it has been for hundreds of so years. So I think we need to calm down on this thing is going to infect everybody.
Well,
somebody's got a mask on, so that means it's COVID-19 in the air. So I best hold my breath and wait till
I'll get
live in a carrier
I'll
bag.
get ahead of the next conspiracy theory that we're going to have, and then Kate, I want to hear your thoughts on it too. The next conspiracy we're going to hear is it was either produced by the U.S. or by Israel to take out, you know, the population, the Georgia Guidestone shit, and the stuff that you see in the Denver airport. And that's just some stuff that I think we're going to see on this. And it'll take people down rabbit holes. But, folks, it's silliness in a lot of ways. And I do believe it is propaganda. And I kind of know a little bit about that, as well as the 2 people I have on tonight. So go on and talk, Kate.
A couple of things. What I'm noticing is where I live in my area, a lot of people do not watch the national news because of the fake information that they send out. So they watch local news without realizing that their local news is getting their information from the national news.
Yep.
The hype and the scare tactics and the panic is just as concerning in the local news as it is in the national news. When they come out and say, well, the CDC is saying this, the Center for Disease Control is saying this, or they're saying that, and they're saying that, oh, well, it's not that bad now, but in 1 week or in 2 weeks, it is going to be doubled and tripled, and everyone needs to be prepared. If you go to the CDC website, it's on their website, and people are looking at that and going, oh my God, I have to prepare. And then we have the hype of the news saying, well, there is a vaccine and possible cure coming out of Israel. Well, I agree that they're working on and coming up with a possible vaccine, but look at reality. There is no cure for the common cold. There is no cure for the flu. This is the flu. It takes 10 to 14 days in most people for the flu and or the cold to take its course in the human body. You can use medications or herbal supplements to help alleviate some of the symptoms of the cold and flu, but there is no flat out cure. So when somebody on the news says Israel, United States, Harvard, wherever, China, Japan, are coming up with a cure for this virus, I automatically know it's a lie.
Yeah.
And everyone should have that same mindset. We're so busy wanting to get information from information news sources that are fake that they are not doing their own research and thinking for themselves. God gave us a brain, and we need to use it. We're not stupid people. We need to do our own research and come up with our own solutions for our own families. What works for me may not work for you.
How many times have we been vaccinated against the flu shot, whatever strain they say we're going to have, and we get infected with a whole different strain? And it's retarded.
And I think what it comes down to as well, we aren't as hardy as we were 100 years ago, as 200 years ago, as human beings. Our life expectancy is a lot better because of modern medicine. But what we've got now, the dependency on things like antibiotics, where before, a lot of it, although we had a lot of people dying of these diseases, and it's not because they were weaker people, it's because they didn't have the medicine we've got nowadays. Now, because nowadays you can buy antibiotics across the counter, people think, oh, I've got a runny nose, I might as well smash some antibiotics. And what it does, it builds up body's resistance up to those antibiotics, where when you do catch something, them antibiotics don't work. And it's the same with our diseases as well. They're becoming antibiotic resistant or antiviral resistant, so they become the diseases themselves are becoming stronger. And we're seeing that with things like the flu, the Spanish flu. And then you look at SARS. When SARS kicked off, they were pumping that much antibiotics into people. That just SARS was mutating faster than the vaccinations were. And so what we have to look at is a vaccination isn't a cure. They're two completely different things, and that's what people need to realise out there is a vaccination isn't a cure. A vaccination can stop you from catching that illness, or can that certain strain of illness, or it can lower the effects of that illness if you do contract it. If you do get COVID-19, a vaccination is not going to do anything for you because it's not a cure. That's what people need to realise. Your thoughts?
People need to understand that an antibiotic cannot kill a virus. An antibiotic kills bacteria. Bacteria and viruses have different mechanisms and machinery to survive and replicate. The antibiotic has no target to attack in a virus. Antiviral medications and vaccines are specific for viruses. But like somebody was saying, I think it was Chef, in vaccinations, you can be vaccinated for, say, H1N1 and catch SARS. And an antiviral vaccination or a vaccination is specific for a specific virus. So with all of these different species of viruses out there, everybody wants to run to the doctor because I have a runny nose and I don't feel well, the doctors make all kinds of money selling them antibiotics. When the antibiotic does not work for a virus, people need to do their homework. Don't believe me. Do your homework.
Yep, I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's a friend that we all have mutually, and I've had him for many years, Dan, and him and my wife and a bunch of other people have gotten me onto aromatherapy. This is when I got a viral thing in Afghanistan, that last trip I went on, and everybody knows about that, so I'm not going to bore you with the details. But the fact remains is I did get assistance from two things. Both doTERRA, it's a name of a company, so, you know, I'm not pimping just that company. I'm talking about the essential oils, and you put it into like an evaporator where you get the steam from it, or the water, or whatever, however they call it, a diffuser. And one's called On Guard, and then the other, and it has properties from the other thing that's more natural too. And so home remedies will kind of work on this. Trust me, it took a long time, but it was a hard one. And antibiotics were doing nothing. We're talking, I was running through Z-Packs. But what the heck? I'm trying to remember the other one. It's oregano. Oregano is another one that will help you. And doTERRA sells it, but there's a lot of companies out there that do. If you ever run into Dan on the page or something, I would suggest to talk with him or his wife. And, you know, they are real schooled in it. I'm not. But I'm telling you, I think there's value to aromatherapy, especially when it's a respiratory disease. And your guys' thoughts?
If people understood a virus, we have the news, which most of it's fake, but we know that there's a virus out there. We know that there's flus out there. We know that there's colds and everything like that, which gives us the ability to build our immune systems up. So we can build our immune systems. I take 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C for like 4 days. And then I'll take echinacea tea for 7 days. You do not want to take any echinacea for anything longer than 7 days, and then give your body a break. Build your immune system up so when you are exposed, the chances are very high that with your immune system up, you might get the sniffles and be okay. If you even get the sniffles.
Hear, hear.
Yeah, it's like you said there, Kate. It's about your body at the time. Like say, in 1 month you can be as sick as a dog. You could be run down. The next month it's you're fine. You can fight off infections and things like that. And again, it's all about how you live as well. It's how you eat. If you're stuck in a room 24/7, like some of the young ones are now, yes, you might not be going outside to risk yourself to the infection, but you're not building up an immunity because you're sat in your own dirty air, let's call it, because you're not going outside getting fresh air and things like that. And again, it's the foods that you eat. If you're not eating nutritious foods, like you said there, Kate, you're taking vitamin C and things like that. If you're not getting those vitamins, then your body's not going to have a strong enough immune system to fight off some of these diseases. So again, it's about taking care of yourself as well. And like we keep saying, and what we'll probably come on to is how you conduct yourself in a hygienic manner also dictates how susceptible you are to diseases. You know, I mean, some people do actually live in complete filth and might only get the sniffles. It's because their immune system's built up to live in that filth. Where somebody who might have a really clean home is more susceptible to viruses purely because of their use of a clean environment. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should live in their own shit, But again, it's about building up your immune system and how you conduct yourself hygienically.
Exactly. And I joked around with on the last show with Jim. Um, we had a really good show, and unfortunately, it didn't take. Hopefully, this one does. And I'm gonna have him back on. I told him it didn't upload, and it's probably OBS, and I know why. So we'll figure it out. But the more important part is, look, I joke around, but I'll tell you some facts. When I go to the restroom, I wash my hands. I also use that same, and this pisses me off, and everybody should be pissed off in America and anywhere else when you see those air blowers to blow your hands dry. They need to have towels so you can towel your hands off, and also use that towel to open that handle. Because how many people take a shit or a piss, and I've seen it before, where people just walk out after they've wiped their dirty ass, and then they open that door. And so that's just basic stuff. Don't be a dirty cunt. Look, here's the other thing I'll say is that, something I've found that's been real helpful is when I go to Kroger or Walmart, I lick the handles. No, I don't. I had to say that. You guys know I've been saying that for a while. Don't lick the handles, folks. I was making a joke. Jesus Christ, somebody will do it thinking they're going to get some sort of beef off of it. All right, anyways, I just had to throw some levity into this shit. Here you guys go. Run with it.
Yeah, what we're going to look at is when we're on about people clearing shelves of things as well. What you've got to look at is what you can do if those shelves are cleared, like alcohol, hand gel and things like that. Well, make your own. It's not hard to make your own home remedies and things like that. Or even buy an alternate. Like we've got something, I don't know if you have it in the States, it's called Dettol. And basically it's like disinfectant that smells like pine. But all you have to do is get a little spray bottle, put some Dettol in there, dilute it, and you can use that for your hands. And Dettol does, it's like clinical stuff. It does a lot more than alcohol hand gel, because its sole job is to kill infections. You can just have some of that and just spray that on your hands, or spray that on the shopping cart that you're using, and you're not going onto the internet and having to pay $70 for a single bottle of it. You can pick it up for a couple of dollars. It's not bleach, so chances are you might find it, because again, people are just buying bleach like there's no tomorrow, like it's the apocalypse. So again, just look on the internet. I'm not a witch doctor or anything. I couldn't tell you like start shaking chicken bones and using lemon juice or anything like that. But again, there's going to be sort of recipes on the internet for aromatherapy, for hand cleanser and things like that. Again, these things are pretty new. What were they using all them years ago? They were using soap and water. So that's what you want to be using on a daily basis throughout the day. Not just when you've been to the toilet or when you're going to prepare food, just periodically through the day. Which is a bit harder when you're out and about, when you're out in town, you know what I mean, you're at work and things like that. So again, it's just look on the internet, so you're not having to pay $70 for a tiny pocket-sized bottle of hand gel. Make your own. You know what I mean? And the chances are it'll be equally or more effective than what you can pick up on the internet. Because again, there's going to be unscrupulous people out there that are going to be buying this in bulk and selling it at 15 to 20 times the normal price. So again, like Kate said, just do your homework on that and keep yourself safe, and don't lick toilet door handles like Schiff does.
Well, again, great minds think alike, because I do have a recipe for hand sanitizer, which you can just go to your local Walmart, your Target, or wherever, and no licking handles, and you can get isopropyl alcohol. You want at least 91%, which is basically rubbing alcohol, and the aloe vera gel. You'll spend $10, probably $6 max, and you can make at least a gallon of this stuff. It's the hand sanitizer. If you use about 2/3 a cup of the alcohol, mix it with about 1/3 cup of the aloe vera gel, You can put any essential oil in for fragrance if you want. I'm not a fragranty person. I don't do perfumes or anything like that. So I just use the alcohol and the aloe vera gel. I mixed it up in a small mixing bowl, and I put it in one of the old dollar store hand sanitizer. You can get a package at Walmart for like 97 cents. It has all of these little bottles in it. You can put it all in these bottles, close up the bottles, and now you have hand sanitizer. And you can mix up a gallon of this, and it will go and last you for a very, very long time. It's inexpensive to do it, and there's no worries. Like Baz was saying, use soap and water. There's nothing wrong with soap and water. If you don't want to use soap and water, or you use soap and water after you use the washroom, then use your hand sanitizer. But keep in mind that when you use hand sanitizer, you're not washing your hands. You're just disinfecting the germs that are on your hands. So wash your hands first, then disinfect.
And
that's my advice.
Yeah, and if you're a greenie and you want to reuse and reutilize, Baz and I are intimately familiar with the idiots that used to do this back in the day, but you can make it positive. They used to put bleach or something in those squeeze. You'll find them. They look like lemon or lime, little squeeze tubies. And Antifi uses those to try to blind motherfuckers, putting bleach in it or alcohol. But in all honesty, you take that little squirt nozzle off, fill it with something. This is what those fuckers do. And you put it on a rag. Have a rag with you, if nothing else. Go to an AutoZone or a Pep Boys or something, and get yourself a rag. Have it in your pocket. Men used to carry, hankies and rags, and wipe down shit. Instead of using it for a bad thing, use it for a good thing. And wipe that handle down. Don't lick it like I do, because I'm just a dumb, ignorant hillbilly. But I clean it with my tongue. But the point is, no, I'm being honest now. Put some isopropyl alcohol in there. Put some and just spray it on the rag. Wipe the goddamn thing down. It takes like 5 seconds, maybe a second, if you want to be a lazy cunt. And fucking you've sanitized it as much as you can. And that's just too. It takes a couple seconds to fill that damn little spray bottle. And instead of using it for bad like those fucks do, use it for good.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. It came from the old hooligan scene in the UK, the old little Jif bottle, and what they used to do, they used to fill it with ammonia and spray it into the faces, obviously the rival hooligan teams, and obviously it's just sort of taken hold in sort of the Antifa sort of movement, and things like that. But again, like you said there, it can be used for good. I mean, you can even, let's say, like Kate said there, if for fragrance, you can actually keep some of the lemon juice in there. Again, lemon juice is a natural antiseptic anyway, because it's citric acid. You know what I mean? So get your aloe vera in there, get some of that alcohol in there, use it on your hands. You're not only softening your hands, but it smells like lemon as well. Even though you're going to look quite strange with pulling a lemon bottle out of your coat pocket or your handbag or whatever you're carrying. But again, it's better than walking around with a gas mask on, or like you see on social media where people are walking around with a cut-out water bottle on their heads. It's just things are getting crazy. And I think what you need to do as a sane person is just take a step back, look around you, see everybody, crisis buying and things. Do I need 8 bottles of bleach? I don't. I need probably 2 bottles of bleach, if that. Worst case scenario, I might need 2 cases of water. But even if it does go a pandemic, you're still going to be able to turn your taps on tomorrow morning, and hot and cold water will come out your taps. You're still going to be able to switch the light switch on, and electricity will still work. It's not the end of the world. A comet, we aren't going to be hit by a meteorite. There's not going to be a nuclear apocalypse tomorrow. It's not going to be this sticky wet dream of zombies running around the streets. It's influenza. just a more infectious cause of influenza. So we need to sort of calm down. Identify places where people are hitting up, like your main stores. If you do think, right, I'm going to have to crisis buy now, because not because of this illness, it's because of the panic going on around me. I'm going to need bleach at some point, and if I can't buy it, so I need to identify somewhere where it is. And again, the small mom and pop stores will probably sell it. They'll probably have some in the back from themselves, you know. And again, it depending on where you live, you can barter for that. Like Kate said, knock up your own hand sanitizer, you know, and go, I tell you what, I'll swap you 3 bottles of this hand sanitizer for a bottle of your bleach, or I'm sick of using one of Shuff's socks to wipe my ass, because everybody's bought all the toilet roll. So I'll swap you some hand sanitizer for some toilet roll, or whatever, you know. Again, just take a step back, observe the chaos around you, and make conscious and informed decisions. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, and that's the whole point of this whole thing. Is look, you don't want to live the sticky wet masturbational fantasy of I think video games and popular media with the zombie apocalypse and epidemic and all the what was that one that they came out with, infection or something like that. We're talking movies, and then the news media compounds it, and it is an election year, so there's a reason they're doing it. And we all know the bent of the media, and it is what it is. You're not going to change it, and they're not going to change themselves. But the whole point is that sticky wet masturbational fantasy of Civil War. It's kind of the same thing for, I think, the media now, is that they can make much ado about nothing on this one. And I think there's something to it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's nothing to it. But what I am saying is I think they overinflate themselves a little too much. And the other thing I'll say is, in all honesty, I mean, I joke around a little bit, but I'm probably going to still joke around on this comment. But the point is, the greater point of it, I guess, is to realize you can do things yourself to protect you. You don't have to go around looking like a goofball. I'll never forget, it was just yesterday, Baz. I don't think I talked to you or Kate about this. I found an old East German decon kit. It came in a plastic thing, had 2 jars, E&O. People who understand what that was in East Germany know what that was. It was a mixing. It's sort of like the old spray bottles we had for super tropical bleach, how to decon stuff. And I found these 2 things, and inside the bottles, of course, they have the little brush to decon shit. It's just a funny little thing that I found, and I couldn't believe I still had it. It was in my Connex. But I just started laughing. And at that point, I realized, hey, you know what? This biological is the worst thing you can get hit with, and there is evidence it's been weaponized, but the point is, it's still the fucking flu. And don't be a dirty cunt. Don't spread your own germs around. You know, now you have, actually, I've seen it on different blogs, where people like, all these Trump voters are old. So why don't we just get infected with coronavirus, run into COVID-19, sorry about that, I had a hiccup. And why don't we go to a Trump rally? You think about that. That's some evil shit.
Sorry. Yeah, go on, sorry.
That was a councilwoman from Colorado.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It was one of your senators or a councilwoman that said that. That's basically promoting, facilitating, and planning domestic bioterrorism.
Exactly.
I mean, why isn't she getting lifted by the Secret Service? You know what I mean? Or FBI booting her off his door and going, "You're under arrest for this." Because I guarantee you, if she had the Quran in her hand, she'd be fucking in Guantanamo, or she'd be getting You know what I mean? A fingernail pulled out somewhere in some black site prison. Obviously, I joke, but let's be honest. Let's put that religious spin on there. She said it as a political figure, okay, and it's like, okay, yeah, she's a Democrat, yeah. No one will touch her. But let's put it as, let's say, you, me, or Kate. Let's say we follow Islam, and let's say we say that, then straight away the Islamic fundamentalism is planning domestic bioterrorism. There's no different. It's just come out of a person who happens to work in an office, in a public office. It doesn't matter who said it. That's still promoting bioterrorism at the end of the day. And again, that doesn't help matters where panic is involved, because she's planted a seed now. You know what I mean? She's planted a seed that, let's be honest, not many people would have thought of. Let's start taking out Trump voters. And again, it comes down to the political thing. This how and excuse me on this, but how involved and besotted the United States is with this two-party system of one is evil and the other's evil, you know, and the only way to win is to start infecting people with this disease and hoping that people die of it. You know what I mean? So another political party can win. It's absolute craziness, and it smells like communism. That, you know what I mean?
It's madness.
It smells like fascism.
It's madness, I say. Madness.
It's madness.
And I'm gonna insert car crash right now. I must. And that's all I had to say on that one.
Yeah, it is crazy though, and something needs done about it. Certainly seen you remove them from office and questioning for a long period of time. But again, nothing will come of it because it's a Democrat saying it, and she'll have said it with tongue in cheek. I'm sorry, but when you put something on the internet, it can't be construed as tongue in cheek. It's there for everybody to see. Maybe her circle of friends would have thought, oh yeah, she's having a joke. But let's say it's somebody that's just gone onto her thing that doesn't know her personally and gone, hang on, that's quite a good idea. You know what I mean? There's a Trump rally down the road, and it's the community that it's held in is primarily older people. I'm going to go down there infectious with COVID because I've just come back from fucking Wuhan or whatever, and I'm going to start coughing all over these old people. So hopefully the Republican voter pool in my area in the next few months is going to reduce drastically because all these old people are going to start dying of COVID-19, or because I've listened to this one fucking councilwoman. Thanks for the idea, you know what I mean? But that's how crazy shit's getting, you know. And again, leading on to the craziness, Kate. Obviously, you've gone through some of that yourself recently.
I have. I just came down out of my mountain just to go get some dog food, and it was crazy. The parking lot was full. There was a line to get in, and we do not live nowhere near Washington State, and people are going panic crazy. There's idiots out there that are trying to take advantage of other people. What my biggest concern is not just the panic. It's the people who are trying to take advantage of those who are panicking. There was this one lady, she was bent over her grocery cart in the checkout stand. She was the person in line supposed to be getting ready to pay, and 5 minutes later, she's still bent over her cart, and she's having serious medical issues. Well, there's 3 cretins standing at the door watching her, waiting for her to leave so they could take advantage of her. Long story short, they did not succeed in their endeavor, which at this point in time, until there's a prosecution, we're not allowed to get into too much detail, even though I did on a private page, private group page. There are people out there that are panicking for no reason. And there are people who are taking advantage of those who are panicking. And we all need to be watching and be circumspect, be cautious in what we do, where we go, know our surroundings. If something looks weird, it probably is weird. If there are 2 or 3 guys watching you, there's 2 or 3 guys watching you. They're not, if you just think they're doing it, they're probably doing it. And take precaution. I'm not old and I'm not young, but I can look like I cannot handle myself. There's a lot of times that I wish the cretins would mess with me just so I could introduce their nose to their left ear. And then there's times it's like, you know what, I really don't want to deal with you today. So you carry yourself. You have to carry yourself in a way of, I know what I'm doing and I can handle myself. If you do not do that, like this woman, she was very, very ill, which, by the way, she did pass away. That is how ill she was.
Wow.
She was hunched over her grocery cart. I'm getting emotional because I helped.
Well, you saw it, and I'll tell you what, Kate. I'll tell you, it brings me back to, I'm not a big movie guy now and stuff, but back in the '80s, there was a movie that came out called The Day After Tomorrow. And
right.
I'll never forget it. There was a part where this obviously retarded dude is trying to get water, and everybody's pushing him away. And this one Air Force guy, after the nukes are launched and shit, and it's the same panic kind of shit they were trying to foist during the Cold War. And he's all dirty and shit, and this Air Force guy tries to help him, but everybody's still pushing him away. And even the Air Force guy, he was a black gentleman trying to help a white gentleman who was a retard. And it took a dude with a gun to pull it out and say, let him have a drink. Because it was the only spigot anybody was getting any water out of, and this guy obviously was thirsty. And if we lose our humanity over stupid shit, well, we already know we do. Black Friday, Boxing Day, or whatever you guys call it in England, it's the same bullshit where everybody's pushing in to get in there and get their shit. And if we lose our humanity over that, that's why I tell everybody it's a thin fucking veil of civility. And that's what we live in. And that's reality. And you better rev up to that quickly and understand nobody wants harm to anybody on my page. And nobody that I've ever had on my page wants that. But the point is, there are those that will take advantage. And go on, Kate, because that's pretty much the situation you're describing.
What happened in our society worldwide that has taken away from helping the elderly and the disabled and the young first? I can guarantee you that if I was at that spigot of water, it doesn't matter if the individual is a mentally unstable person, mentally challenged, elderly, child, they're going to go first because they need that more than I do. But I guess that's just me and who I am. There are a lot of people out there that would do the same, and sadly, there are more people now that would not. They would push that mentally challenged individual away, or that lady slumped over for 5 minutes. Nobody helped that lady that was slumped over the grocery cart. Even the checkout teller, the lady that was checking her out, did not help. She just stood there and watched her. Finally, I stepped up and said, my name is Kate. I'm a medical professional. Do you need help? The woman was in tears. Her eyes were glazed over. She was clearly ill. The hospital sent her away because she was not sick enough to be hospitalized. She was sick enough to be hospitalized. She died the next morning.
Well, we all know this. Man's inhumanity to man is epic and legion. I will tell you this. Here's my thoughts on that, Kate, and this is just my thought, my 2 cents. And those same people will go out and say, "Oh, I was all there for lesbian rights, weird rights, queer rights, whatever." They'll do that, and they'll pontificate and be morally superior to you, Kate, and superior to me and Baz, and yet they did nothing. And they'll talk about it like they actually did something, but they probably didn't do a fucking thing. And it's this fast fashion Depeche Mode culture that we've allowed to take hold to propagandize. Don't think I don't know where this comes from, because I do, and I know you guys do too. This social media thing, we use it, we have to. We're using it now. But it is a problematic thing. And they want to destroy lives, and yet they'll social signal that they're so far superior than you, me, or Baz.
Yeah, you're right, mate. And like you said a bit earlier on about a thin veil of civility, you see every day. I mean, like to the the extremes in our society, like Kate experienced the other day, to sort of lesser extreme things where, like, you're on public transport and an elderly person gets on, be it a man or a woman, and generally you see people just sit there with their headphones in or on the phone and just ignore this elderly person. And that elderly person is standing there holding on to the guardrail or something. And it's usually me that stands up and says, "Please have my seat." Generally, the elderly person will say, no, thanks. And I'm saying, "No, I insist, please, you sit down." You know what I mean? But then you turn around and you look at these like 17, 18-year-olds, young 20-year-olds, and you're thinking, what are you playing at? In what life do you think that's acceptable? You know, and that is just every day. And so this thin veil of civility. Then you look at sort of the other extreme to it. You go to places in Africa where they are the most humble and generous people, and then the next village down, hacking each other to pieces, or they'll put a burning tire around someone's neck because someone called them a witch. You know, that's not so far-fetched to be happening in the first world. You know, things like that. And all it takes is something like this coronavirus to actually get hold somewhere, and let's say that the fatality rate does ramp up, and you're going to be seeing things like that where Kate's isolated incident becomes nationwide, you know, and you've got your Korean dude standing on market roofs with automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons, fending off looters, where you've got people putting sandbags against the window and razor wire to keep people out. Again, that thin veil of civility is going to slip quite quickly if we let it. So it's important that we don't let panic take hold, and those with calm minds prevail. So it's a point to take note that these cretins that want to take advantage of the people aren't allowed to do so. And it's probably not overnight. They are just cretins in general, but they're exploiting this panic for their own means. You know, they're seeing it as a positive. They're not seeing it as a negative. They're seeing it as a positive, that people are panic buying. That means people are going to have more things on them. They're going to have more money on them, and things like that. So it's those nefarious characters that are going to be sort of the upper end of our spectrum, where we want to do good, we don't want to panic, we're trying to calm people down. But then these lot on the other end of the spectrum that want to ensure that panic happens, so they can obviously use it to their own means, and that can be your three cretins in the car park, or it can be people on the media. It can even be pharmaceutical companies that are going to push this narrative that they are the only ones that have got this miracle cure, and they're selling not so much a placebo, but any normal cough medicine that's just on steroids for $5,000 per fucking course, when it costs $3.90 to make, if you know what I mean. So again, we just need to be aware of that as well.
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I will say this. At first I talked about this with Jim yesterday, and hopefully this is still recording still. Um, I said, well, the same case of water I bought for a dollar. I think it was $1.30 or 65 the day before. It was 24 pack of water, and that's the normal thing we buy. Well, I buy two, and it was $2 and something, and it doesn't mean that was wrong, because they do change. When I thought about the dates, they do change on Sunday. It will go up or down, and that's just the way they do that. I know you have to go soon, Baz, so we're gonna wrap this thing up. And Kate and Baz, you guys quickly finish us off, and then I'll give the outro.
I've waffled on. I'll let Kate run with it for a few minutes, because I've chatted shit for the past 10-15 minutes.
Our biggest thing is don't panic. Keep your head. Stay calm. If you prep or purchase things out of these are the things I need, let me grab an extra one. Like if you are going in for dog food, grab an extra bag of dog food. Do not buy things out of fear. There is nothing to be afraid of. It is just the flu. And people say, oh, but it's mutating. No, it's not. Just because somebody says it's mutating does not mean it is. Look for the proof. Do some research. Keep your head about you. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, buy things out of necessity. It's again, it's the important one you said there, is because again, what we mentioned, that there's somebody else behind you looking for that as well, and it might not be a cretin. It could be a young person, a single mum with children, and it might be the only time she can get to the store. So again, take a look around you and think: do I need 6 cases of water when I know I can turn my tap on tomorrow morning? Do I need 18 bottles of bleach when I live 20 minutes away, and I've already got 3 bottles of bleach at home? It's common sense. You're only wasting your own money as well at the end of the day. And that's pretty much it. Just be mindful, look after yours, look after those around you, and wash your fucking hands.
It's people helping people. In all honesty, that's community, and I'm fortunate to have that where I live. And I do know that. But here's the point. So we're going to close this out now, folks, and we'll do another show on this, because honestly, ramp down the bullshit. And as I'm going to close out the show, I'll tell you thank you that you're sitting on my big orange couch and finish your coffee, tea, soda, or adult libation. And I will slowly raise that drawbridge out of Kaiser's Castle so that you can go about your daily life in peace and calm and no worry. With that being said, Shuff out.